You wonder what makes celebrities abuse their bodies or even their success. Think about it this week, right? You had Michael Jackson, totally unrelated. You had Governor Mark Sanford. Here's the weird connection, though. What is it that drives famous people toward destructive behavior? Dr. Karen Stewart joining me right now. Doctor, what is it?
Hi there.
What do you think makes people? Yeah, I'm sorry if you can't. What makes people in what seem to be successful, secure positions abuse themselves?
Well, I think there's an overwhelming response of narcissism in the media and public personalities. People feel they're indestructible. They have a grandiose feeling about themselves that their consequences are different than ours. You know, if you take the governor, there's no way most of us could leave our jobs, leave our families for 6 days, unbeknownst to everybody, and just literally take off. Somebody especially who's running a state. So when you look at the state of the governor and of Michael Jackson at the same time, these are people that lived without consequences. What they say is what they did. They weren't worried about what everybody was thinking about them.
All right, now we should stress here as we show these Michael Jackson shots, there's no real correlation at all between his situation and Governor Sanford. Save this, that maybe when you're in a position of power, you do more risky things?
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's take the case of Michael Jackson. He has been in the limelight for 45 plus years. He has had people around him that were yes men, that he told people what to do when he was a young child. When you're worth millions of dollars, when you have people, your family, your friends taking care of you, or for the lack of a better way to put it, not taking care of you, you're going to do destructive behaviors. You know, when you're in the media, when you have the power that he had, he's not going to live the same rules that we live. You know, for instance, if he has a headache, he takes something like a Vicodin. He'll take a Demerol, where you and I might take an aspirin or a Tylenol. He goes above and beyond in everything he did.
You know, it's interesting you should say that, Dr. Friends who are real friends if they just say no. But I remember just doing a little bit of research on Elvis Presley in light of what was going on with Michael Jackson. And I remember one of his buddies who wanted to always stick with him wanted to preach tough love when he saw the king taking pills and everything else, but he knew that once he did, he'd be kicked out of that inner circle, and he wanted to be in Elvis's inner circle. So it's sort of like a Faustian pact, right?
You're absolutely right, because if somebody says no to somebody who has that much of a grandiosity about them, they are going to be excluded from the pack. You know, somebody like, you know, maybe it's a friend, a loved one, a partner telling you, look, I love you, I care about you, please stop using this substance, please stop destroying your body. That person might shut the door on you and say, you know what, it's you or the drugs, I'm choosing the drugs right now. That's in the case of Elvis, it might be in the case of Michael Jackson, Anna Nicole Smith, Lindsay Lohan. I mean, we have several stories just in the last couple of years of people abusing their bodies and abusing their power.
But you know, it's interesting, Doctor. I hold folks like yourself and doctors in general to a higher standard, and Dr. Stephen Gardner here to a much higher standard, because when you bring on a doctor to live with you in your house, that doctor has this Hippocratic oath to do no harm and not to do things that could harm you. Yet he's under your employ, and you're the patient with the money and the patient with the demands. It's a sort of a no-win situation, right?
It's definitely a no-win situation, and I think that many doctors do push the envelope. Let's say, for instance, you know, the standard milligrams is 100 milligrams. If it's a patient that's been using hard for a long time, he might push the envelope to 125. Now it's 150. Now it's 200. Now it's twice a day. So I think doctors really do push the envelope. I don't prescribe medication, so I can't speak from the medical aspects of pharmaceuticals, but
you still hold the high standards, and that's something got messed up here.
Of course,
Doctor. Thank you.
You know, in my practice, I would
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
In my practice, I would never use something that would jeopardize one of my patients. You know, for instance, if I had a patient that was, you know, having suicidal tendencies or were destroying their own bodies, I wouldn't push them past that level, maybe challenging them. You have to go where the patient is in a lot of ways, and it's a judgment call in a lot of ways. You know, do I tell them, you know, do we uncover family drama, and do we uncover past molestations and whatnot when they're in the suicidal state? Wow. The answer would be no, but if some people push them past that, you have to go with where the patient is.
Doctor, thank you.
Of course, drastically different than medication. Thank you.
Absolutely. As a doctor speaking, I do want to remind you of, you know, when we're talking about Michael Jackson, it is a big business story.